Yes, guys, how's it going? So, in today's podcast, this is the part two to the in-person podcast that I did with Ben Woolliss. Okay, so because we got quite a lot of questions, a lot of talking around topics, and we went down rabbit holes and all that stuff, I wanted to split it up just so you don't have to listen to too much of our minging Grimsby voices for too long. So, in this podcast, then, some of the things we're going to go through, and this is a really good back and forth between two people. And I think some of the common misconceptions that people have around coaching is that it is always the coach that is dictating, and it's always the athlete that is learning from the coach. And that couldn't be farther from the truth in my eyes. As a coach, you should be learning from your athletes all the time. Okay. You should be asking questions. There should be a development in it for you from them. And that's what you get with Ben. Obviously, I've known him for a while. We've worked together for a while, and in this episode, we actually touch on a few things that we haven't discussed in person, in private. So that's really, really cool for me. So I definitely learned something, and yeah, it's good to see. Good to see. So in terms of what we're actually going to chat through today, then, so we've got a few more questions. And what we went through was a big topic of how to stop gassing out. Okay, so how to stop feeling like you've just ran a marathon halfway through a sparring or a fight or anything like that. And even though the topic of this is fight based, this does apply to other sports as well. And as a little bit of a spoiler, it is not always because you're not fit enough. Okay, there is other stuff going on that we need to be aware of. We're also going to go through what are some of Ben's biggest failures. Okay, that was the question. What are your biggest failures? So we're going to kind of touch on some of those things and see where there's a little bit of learning, a little bit of a perspective shift that we can have. And then we're also going to go into a very S&C type topic, but managing training load. Okay, how do you manage training load as a combat athlete, but how this again applies to other sports where you're having to manage multiple things, the physical preparation side, so strength and conditioning, and then alongside the actual sport itself, and then recovery. How do you go about structuring and layering and building on those things? So those are some of the things we go through in this episode. All right, so as always, if you like the episode, let me know, let Ben know. Off the back of this, go over to the Ben Woolliss Academy and sign up, because all the information in there, all the videos, all the teachings is super, super valuable. You're going to love it. Okay. So go over to that, sign up. You will not regret it. Okay. So enough waffle from me for today then. Let's go over to part two of the Ben Woolliss episode. Let's touch on gassing out. So as an S&C coach, some of the questions I get on gassing out they're always the same, to be fair. Like, how do you stop gassing out in a fight? How do you stop gassing out in sparring and those types of things? So I guess to you, what are some of the things you found that really helps you not gas out?
So that'd be interesting to see your point of view on this as well from an athletic standpoint to where I come from. So at the minute, I'm very heavily involved in coaching juniors, and we've taken 10 juniors that have never done any competitions before to, I think we have 4 world champions, we have European champions, but everybody, at least everybody in our junior fight team is a British champion.
Mm.
And the question that has come from every single one of them at some stage is, I feel like I'm exhausted. And I'm like, right, cool. I know that they're not.
Mm.
I know they'll come in for a session, say a week before the fight, and I will run them through 10 hard, fast paced rounds. And I know that they're fit enough to do that. So at the end of it, that's all they fight for is 3 rounds. And I've just killed them in 10. So
Yeah.
after that 10 rounds, I go, how do you feel? And they're like, yeah, I feel all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, cool. So you've just done over 3 fights. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so when you're in that ring and say they're fighting a minute and a half round, I'll kill them for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So when we're there, I'm like, so remember, when you come back to the corner after you've done that, think about this time now, because we've just hit full exertion for 10 rounds and you can still hold a conversation with me and you feel like you could go again.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so remember this when you're inside there, what you're feeling is not necessarily a dump of I'm exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
It's nerves, it's nervous adrenaline, it's you've hit an adrenaline dump, and there's so much going on in your body. All we need to do is learn how to control that. Come back to the corner, breathe, realize that you're fit enough to be in this position. You've done all the work, and they're like, "Yeah, cool." And now every time they come back to the corner and they tell me you're tired, I'm like, "You're not tired. Your brain's tired. Your
Yeah.
brain's telling you that you're tired.
Yeah.
You're completely fit enough to do this because remember last week
Mm-hmm.
you hit 10 of these.
Yeah.
And if anything, this is less output because we're waiting, we're setting shots up. Like I have them just bang, bang, bang,
Yeah.
just
It's
going for the full
non-stop.
time. Yeah, I'm like, you can just let everything flow for 10 rounds. You're not tired, your brain's tired. And a lot of them, the way that they change after kind of understanding that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, let's go. So the big thing for me is understanding if you're actually physically tired or it's an adrenaline dump. And it's hard to, if you feel that adrenaline dump, to be able to just switch it off. But I think again, I feel like it's a repetition thing of being able to control your mind in that situation.
It's mad, mate. I can remember fighting AFK, so in Sheffield. I
Mm.
can remember walking out, and honestly, the walk from like the changing room to the ring, I genuinely could have collapsed. Somebody put 300 kilo on my back. I can remember my knees shaking,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd done fuck all. I'd warmed up for bloody 10 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever. I was fine, but genuinely, I was done. And
Mm-hmm.
what happened? It was all up here. It was just the pressure, internalized, all that. It's madness, mate. Like the brain is it's such a powerful thing. But
Yeah.
I think what you said there is bang on. Like I think most of the time it's probably not an actual do you have the fitness available.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would say most of the time that is the case. You have the fitness available, but there's other things at play.
Mm-hmm.
Mental side, the other thing I think is super important to kind of think about is like when you're in the ring, when you're on the mats or whatever, um, your fitness can look worse than it is based off them just being a little bit better, just
Mm-hmm.
putting you in bad situations,
Yeah.
like just making them work super hard, you taking the center of the ring, making them work around you,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing can get you knackered. Um, I think your tactics can be way off. So it's not you gassing out, it's just that you've approached that in the wrong way. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not we need to get fitter, it's you need to plan better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing that I heard a coach call maybe a few months ago, which I found interesting, was stop wincing and just get on with it.
Yeah.
In the sense of sometimes people say if we're doing pad rounds or things like that, people will make it look harder than it is.
Mm.
So it's being able to show a poker face. Because the other thing is, if you always get to a position where you're wincing and things like that, and you're like, I'm trying really hard. But if you're able to poker face that,
Mm.
because what can happen is if you see somebody else is tired, you will feed off that. And
Mhm.
that's like a fire burning in yourself, and you will start unloading and you'll feel better because you know that they're more tired than you.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to a psychology thing.
Mm.
You probably was, there's nothing that's changed in your fitness level, but
Mhm.
you've just seen that they're tired, and now you're like, okay, I'm fitter than you. You start being able to work heavier. There's no difference in, you haven't got a time machine that's done extra road work or anything like that. You've just got this psychological thing of, oh yeah, I'm in a better position, and your gas tank comes up. So being able to poker face things, and yeah, just being able to, as you say, if you're controlling the center, but you're real calm and you're not showing that you're tired, that can help in all different ways. Um, yeah, more psychologically than anything.
Absolutely. One of the things that I want to pick on there is, I guess, you can fight stiff as well. When
Mm-hmm.
people just load up on every shot.
That's another
That's
thing.
another. Just going in and first round, I'm gonna knock him out. Okay, what happens when you don't? What happens when you don't?
So I had the same thing. First fight down in Sheffield, I thought if I kicked anybody in the head, it's
Mm.
game over.
Anybody will get it.
15-year-old me thought if I kick somebody in the head, there's so much coming out of this.
Yeah.
Good luck. The dude I fought, I must have thrown. I didn't throw jabs. I threw head kicks.
Yeah.
I threw head kicks.
That quick head
Head
kick.
kick, head kick, head kick, and that was it. And guess what? I didn't knock him out.
Mm.
The thing that, as an example to understand this, is take someone like Canelo Alvarez, who's an absolute murderous puncher. But there is times where he will land completely flush on somebody and it won't knock him out.
Mm.
Like, think how hard he can punch and generate power and how good his technique is. He like uses his whole body into these shots, and he's got so much natural power, but he can still crack someone and not knock them out.
Mm-hmm.
And what you think, you 6 months into something, being able to fight, you think you're just going to be able to spark people.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to knock somebody out than what people think. But because fighting's such an egotistic thing, they think, oh yeah, I can knock someone out. But it's hard.
Yeah.
And if you go into a fight just trying to do that, you're going to gas out.
Yeah, just headhunting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's even from a like just breaking down the science a little bit of being relaxed. You know, when you throw a punch, you can throw a punch really hard where you tense up all the way through. Okay, one that's got a huge energy cost because you've just contracted the fuck out of your arm and thrown everything into it. Everything's got an energy cost. You know, all those muscles now have just ticked off a little bit of that aerobic capacity you've just built up. Okay. So one, it costs more energy. Second one, it's not as fast. Okay. Relaxation in a shot is huge. Being able to throw it, it relaxes through space, and then just before it lands, boom, you stiffen up again. That's a true thing. So there's a speed element to being relaxed, but there's also an energy cost thing to being relaxed. You know, and that's something you learn through experience
Yeah.
as well.
One thing that was probably a positive thing that I learned when I was like 15 or 16 is the analogy of a towel whip
Mm,
or a kitchen towel whip. That you have to be relaxed and you have to just snap.
mm.
Otherwise, that towel will never whip and hurt somebody. Um, if you were stiff with a towel and you just try and whack it,
I was doing no.
it's doing nothing. You get used to. I hope people have tried whip to towel before.
Yeah,
Otherwise, this analogy is useless. But you get used to when you can just whip it.
yeah,
Then that's where like all that sting comes from. And it's the same with a punch, and you're able to reserve so much more energy if you can just whip things. It's not the FUD that makes it. It's that speed and things like that, which kind of make the difference. And again, yeah, being able to relax and conserve that energy through the rounds.
absolutely. So just going through those real quick, and we touched on, the psychology of actually, you know what, it's more you're not gassing out, it's your brain just thinking, fuck, I'm tired.
Mm.
Okay, so that's one. I think just fighting stiff is one thing. Tactic, you just approach it in the wrong way. Potentially you've got an opponent that is just making your skill set harder to
Yeah.
execute. Um, the other thing I wanted to say, what was I going to say? One of the huge things in a strength and conditioning standpoint of why you're gassing out, and pretty much every fighter's probably done this or potentially still does this. You find out you've got a fight, it's going to be in 10 weeks. You build a fight camp and you build and you build and you build and you build, and you probably don't even not stop training. You just keep going. Your fatigue is through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a huge saying of fatigue masks fitness. Okay. So you can be super tired. It could make just make you look shit because you're so systemically tired. Might not feel it in the day, but you're just not firing on all cylinders. And that's why a proper deload, taper, actually getting somebody to prescribe your workload appropriately so you can gradually build up to a point and then taper off. It's so important.
Yeah, be like going into a gym and just guessing stuff. Like if you're trying to excel to be the best version that you can and you have no prior knowledge of something like a strength and conditioning route and you're just trying to guesswork it, like imagine an electrician coming around and him just guessing what he's doing.
Mm,
There's no way. And it's the same things is that these forms, these art forms, or however you want to do it, take years to master. So having somebody who understands all these principles and has gone through the motion, let them be your electrician or
mm,
fucking mechanic and like actually do what's necessary because they understand the progression, the deload, the um, peaking and
yeah,
things like that, which makes an incredible difference. If you're somebody who wants to take that same thing seriously, you wouldn't go into a fight without a striking coach.
yeah,
You wouldn't go into a boxing match without a boxing coach.
hmm
So don't expect your conditioning and your strength to be on point if you're just guessing that as well.
yeah,
Like get a coach for that. Obviously, um, some people. No, I just think it's necessary.
yep.
At some stage, when you're trying to be the best, you're going to need those things. 100%.
It's that thing of like going back. when we were younger and we were trying to like get better at everything. Yeah, there's so much information out there, and I think the fact that you're researching stuff and trying to become really well read in an area, great. It doesn't cost money. You can go on YouTube, you can go wherever and find that. That is your first step. Okay. Once you get to a point where you're like, you know what, I really need to push that next level, then you need to start investing, get a coach, get somebody that knows what they're doing to do it. Um, it's so valuable.
Yeah, 100%. Like I say, even if you're just somebody who's boxing, which not in a disrespectful way, but there is only so much to think about.
Yeah.
But that's still to think about that. It's not like in the terms of like if you're doing MMA, you have your striking, your wrestling, your war work, your jiu-jitsu and stuff. Boxing, you're just thinking about how can I land with two hands.
Mm-hmm.
But there is still your skill work, there's still your nutrition, there's still your strength and conditioning, there's still your headset, and you're still juggling all these things that people will put a lifetime of work into that specific thing. Same with a nutritionist. You may understand some foundations and some fundamentals of it, but there is somebody who is investing all the time that you're putting into boxing skill work into nutrition. So why, if you had the means to, would you not incorporate somebody and learn from that skill set, or let them guide and take the load off that, and have the trust to know that you've got somebody who is investing all their time into that? How is that not going to benefit you more, like,
It goes back to it's load, cognitive load, what I said
Mm.
earlier. Same thing. Instead of having to think about every nitty gritty, spend a little bit of time at the beginning, getting somebody in, getting the right person in place, let them do their job, let them tell you what to do, crack on, we're sorted. It's a powerful, powerful thing.
Definitely, I think.
Right, what we got? What we got? We have. Well, I'll tell you what then. Let's look at what are your biggest failures. Okay, so far then, what's some of your biggest failures? What's your biggest failure?
So failure, I feel personally, is super subjective to things.
It's a loaded question, and it's
Yeah,
hard. It's yeah.
and again, it comes down to if you put all your worth into one thing and it doesn't go the way that you see it, is it a failure? Um, and failure is your only, as we've spoke about with the whether it's the feedback or the black box thinking and things like that. Failure is the only thing that helps growth, really, in a way,
Mm.
because that's the only way that things are going to learn and develop. Because okay, this road doesn't get me to the place I want to be. I have to take another road, and the same thing. Now you understand this road takes you somewhere, so you're super efficient at getting to that one place that you want to get to. So I don't know if, yeah, subjective. You can put a lot of weight onto, if you lose a fight, does that mean it's a failure? Or does that mean, okay, I found one route that doesn't work?
That'd be what those would be the answers that people would be expecting. The failure is that fight I lost or
Yeah.
where I fucked up, but it's the failures classed a failure when you don't do anything about it. Otherwise, it's a lesson opportunity.
What I was saying at the start about I fought on Glory, I won a professional world title, but I also said I don't really have that much emotional connection to them.
Mm.
I will tell you how I felt after every single loss.
Yeah.
And I would like that. I can go back. I lost a fight at York Hall, March 26th, and I know I went back to the hotel that was round the corner. I know the route where I went
Mm.
to, and I know how I felt. And I was sat in the hotel room with a busted nose, and I was sat in like a Holiday Inn kind of thing at that desk where they
Mm.
have the mirror in front, and I was just sat there like this. I don't know what I did after any of those other wins.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Joe Himsworth one where I was saying how I hit that flow state, and I don't know what I did after.
Yeah.
But I know where I was for every other one, the other ones,
Mm.
and I know how I felt. I can feel if, like I say, my nose was dry. I can feel it now.
Yeah.
But those things are what I will sit on. So as an example, I remember my first professional title.
Mm.
I lost, and I didn't.
Mm.
I was expected to win, and I didn't. The feelings that I got after that, I had another professional title 3 weeks later. That carried me through to that win, I believe, because I remember being in the ring and it was the 30 seconds left of the last round, and I was like, there is absolutely no way I'm feeling like I did that night again. And for that 30 seconds, I just gunned him. I had no energy left. I was just coming. I was like, there's no way I'm feeling like that again. So you could say you failed that fight, but I'm like, that fight took me to another level where I will try and avoid feeling like that again, which heightens my ability. So is it a failure? If you write it down on paper, maybe, but fuck, I think they're just necessary.
It's mad, isn't it? You
As
never,
awful as they are.
if you're putting yourself in a situation where you're actually achieving something and you're pushing, you will fail at some point. That's it. That is the way you're going to get better. If you're not failing, I will go as far as saying you're just not doing anything of worth and you're not pushing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You know.
Yeah, 100%. And even though I can say that now, when you're when you're sat at that holiday inn and
Oh,
you're sat there,
you're not going to be like, yeah, I'm going to fail today. I want to lose that fight because it's going to set me up for the next
yeah,
one. Absolutely not.
it's still going to carry through with you, and it's still going to feel like the worst thing. But just know the cliche thing is, we're going to learn from this and we're going to get better. You hear those words at that time, and you're just like, shut up, man. Just let.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, other people are different, but I will sit there and I'll be like, I just need to wallow in my pity for 5 minutes, and then I'm like, right, cool, what's next? Let's go.
There's the two Michael Jordan quotes I remember now. There's like a list of, he knows the exact amount of free throw shots that he's failed in the last 10 seconds to win. You know, all those things. Like, we consider him the greatest of all time in terms of basketball player, but there is like hundreds of mistakes that he's made that has cost him like either a championship, a game, or something. The best ever, hundreds, world can see. And then the other quote that goes along with that is, I haven't lost, I just ran out of time this time.
100%.
You just keep going. Like,
Yeah,
you fail when you stop, or you fail when you don't learn from it.
yeah, and that mindset, I feel like, is what creates somebody to be a real like dangerous competitor. Because like the Will Smith thing, it's like he said, if we get on a treadmill,
Yeah,
he said, I'm either gonna beat you or I'm gonna die.
yeah.
And now, so and it's the same thing with fighting. If you hit somebody with so much and they carry on coming, it's like, okay, let's see what your character's like.
Mm,
If we're gonna get into a dogfight, let's see what you're really made of. And again, what I was saying before about that pressure, where I want to meet another and I
mm,
want to see what we're really made of. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, that's going to get me out of bed in the morning. Because if I sleep on it,
yeah,
he's going to fuck me up.
yeah.
But I want to be in the middle of that, and I'll be like, I love them moments where I'm like, let's fucking go.
Mate,
Let's see
bloody,
what you're made of.
it's the Edwards fight, Usman. Was it
Yeah,
fifth round? Was it?
yeah. Fifth round, last minute.
Sick.
Yeah,
There's long versions of that. There's Biscuit. You
yeah.
know, just getting to that point. It's probably a
Korea.
million.
Yeah,
It's sick. You know,
yeah.
like, just keep pushing, keep pushing. It will happen. It will happen.
Mhm.
Love it.
Yeah, 100%. They're my they're the moments that you live for as a competitor. I believe it's like a true competitor.
Mm.
But yeah.
Right, I think this is our last one then. Okay. How do you manage your training load then? How do you manage how much you train, how hard you go?
I manage that again through failure, through trying different ways, understanding something's not working over time, and then adapting it. And the other thing is, if you understand it's an individual sport, but you get carried there by your team. So I will learn that, okay, I'm getting a lot of injuries and things like this. Why am I getting a lot of injuries? Oh, because I'm going into overload and I'm just burning my body out. How can I change that up? Maybe I can hire somebody that will help me. So you bring somebody in. Now that load has been taken off. You're in a professional hands where they can see what's peaking and they know, okay, we're going too high here. We need to start pulling it down. Whereas maybe like a natural grinder will
Mm,
be like, I feel terrible so many times, and I'm just like, oh, I feel terrible, but fuck it, I can keep working. And yeah, I might be able to keep working, but they're my times where I'm redlining, and now I'm fucked.
hmm
Now I'm injured. Now I'm going out, and now it's going to take me longer to get through there. Whereas have yourself, you see these positions, and you're like, okay, we need to come down a little bit. Now we need to come up. Now we need to come down. Now we need to come up. But this, carries on going across as opposed to I'm going, boom,
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Same with nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Nutrition and hydration has always probably been my factor that I can just strength out of, that I can just grit out of. But that's only been something that's changed over the last couple of years. And you realize the effect that that has when you're fueled properly. And then you kind of bring all of those things together, and you don't realize till you take accountability for your nutrition, you take accountability for your strength and conditioning, your rest, and then when everything lines up and you come into a training session when you're fresh, so you've had the adequate rest, you're properly fueled, you're properly hydrated, you come into a session like that and you feel like you you can go forever.
Mate, so when it works well, it's unstoppable. Like the well-oiled machine, everything's just synced up
Yeah,
perfectly. Everything's been accounted for.
yeah.
It's one of those. I honestly feel like if you're an athlete, you just benefit from 3 months under, a good nutritionist or a good psychologist, a good S&C coach.
Mm,
Learn as much as you can for that time. Treat it like an investment.
mm.
Write notes, and then boom, it'll just carry you through years. And I genuinely just think that it'll cost you money, of course it will. But
Yeah,
you're just going to go spend that money on a new pair of trainers anyway that you don't need.
yeah, it could be anything.
It's I think what you're saying there around the highs and the lows of from an S&C standpoint, there is a science to it. Okay, so there is almost a right or a wrong. There's a little bit of a grey area at times, and you use a little bit of your coaching eye, a little bit of your intuition to make sure you get that result. But there is a science to stress and recovery. So read up on it, or ask somebody that does know, and that will just feed in. I honestly feel like at this point, obviously you've had S&C coaches forever. You're a personal trainer yourself. You're a coach yourself. You could probably do a really good job for the next 10 years to carry you through your career. But I think you would be better if somebody just took the reins,
100%.
and that's just
And
it.
that,
Go
yeah,
on.
sorry. That's also that load that you're talking about,
Mm,
where if I'm concentrating on a fight, which is essentially someone training their ass off to beat my ass,
yeah.
and I don't want that to happen, I need to focus on that. I don't need, well, I don't want to be thinking about all the other external loads. Um, I want to be able to just go into the gym, know that everything's there, and I know the session's ready, and I just
Mm,
need to work.
mhm,
So I come in and I hit my work. I don't want to come in and think, oh, I've got to do what am I lifting today? How many sets should I be doing with it? Because now I'm spending half an hour in stuff where I just shouldn't be thinking
mhm,
of. Same thing as like it's wake up week. Like should I be doing? Like my first time with a professional nutritionist and high level weight cutting coach, that was Ian Larios, who's been with some of the best fighters in the world. That weight cut week was like I would just turn up and he would give me the food that I need to eat.
mm.
Fuck, that was a godsend.
Easy. Just
And
go
then
and do it.
yeah, and even though I've cut weight for first time I cut weight, I think I was 16 or 17, so we're 10 years down.
Mm,
Someone 10 years down should be pretty good at what they're doing. But again, it's not where I put all my investment in.
mm.
He's put 10 years into understanding that week or
Yeah.
that 8 weeks. So I would be second guessing things like, should I really be doing this? But when they're doing it and you know they're an expert, you get your plate of food and you eat it and you trust the process and things come down like a science.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, the stress that came off me that week was incredible.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about the fight. I'm
Hmm.
not thinking about fuck what am I going to eat in the morning? Should I really be having that? How many liters of water is this? How am I going to rehydrate? When I rehydrated and I got off the scale, I had 4 hydration formulas that it's like you drink this at this time. I'm like, okay, drink this at this time, right? Drink this at this. The
Yeah.
next day, I felt like I just woke up again and I hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
It felt great. And that is where you bring in a professional. Again, whether that could be the same with strength and conditioning load, it can be with your headspace, with a psychologist, it can be with a nutritionist. But the difference is I was able to focus on the task, not on the surrounding factors. And that like made such a difference. And again, it's just investing in yourself.
Mm,
It's even if you're in a position where you don't have much funds, it's maybe making a decision. This isn't an extreme point. This is just kind of day to day you're working and you have little bits of excess money, like obviously there's different factors, but if you're in a position where it's okay, am I going to buy a new t-shirt, like, or am I going to put that money towards a strength and conditioning program? Am I going to put it towards a nutritionist? It's again discipline and how much do you want that? Do you want this top? Do you want this necklace? Or do you want to perform and give the best like give the best you can on that night?
Mm-hmm.
That's again another discipline point, and all those kind of things. And they're the little things. Taking those under control is what I believe excels, because you're willing to truly sacrifice things.
Mm.
You may be able to sacrifice, I don't know, the evening and train hard, but are you able to sacrifice all these things to get to where you want to get? And I feel like as I've gone over the years, they're the things that make the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Solid answer. Trying to think, is there anything we missed on that one? Training load. So just for some of the like combat athletes out there, from an S&C standpoint, something for you to think about and go away and look at. It's just going to be look at your training schedule. Okay, so if you've got a class timetable, you strike on Monday, you rest on Tuesday, you've got jiu-jitsu, whatever. Map out what you think your ideal training week is going to be. Try and give it a little bit of a rating how hard it is. Okay, so is it an easy, a medium, or a hard session? There's going to be a little bit of variance in that. For some people, a sparring session might be super easy, it might be hard, whatever. Okay, just figure that out. If your entire week looks like it's hard, you're fucked up. Okay, we need to think about redistributing some intensity. Okay, so having hard sessions, medium sessions, easy sessions spread throughout the week. That might mean you might have to make some tough decisions there, because from an S&C standpoint, you'll be able to be in control of what you do. Okay, I could give you an easy session or a hard session. You just speak to me and say, "I'm fucked." Boom, crack on. If you go to a class, we know how it is. You go to a class, you do what the class is doing, you do what the coach is doing. That might not always fit with you, and that is just part of it. You might just have to miss the odd session or put in a yoga session sometimes. Okay, so thinking about the way your weekly schedule looks, striking's a little bit easier to structure because it's just striking in a sense. Is there's less things to think about. Go to MMA, you've got striking, you've got wrestling, you've got jiu-jitsu, you've got S&C. You've got 4 things there plus recovery. Okay, 5 things. Striking. Okay, I know you're going to group it into different styles. There might be hard pads, whatever. That's when you're going to have to start thinking about getting a little bit more specific and trying to pair adaptations with adaptations. Okay, so if we think about wrestling, it's very grindy, it's quite isometrically dominant. You're pushing against something for a long period of time. Okay? It has a certain stimulus and stressor attached to it. We look at striking, boxing, kickboxing. It's a little bit more ballistic, a little bit more power orientated. Yeah, there's periods of clinching and that type of thing. So it does have strength, but there's more power involved, more repeated power. So think about, from an adaptation standpoint, what pairs with that. I'm not going to give you the answer necessarily, because you have to go away and figure out actually how does doing a strength and power session on a Monday morning before I do a striking session in the evening, how does that fit with me? Okay, there's certain things that do pair together really well. It's kind of like a recipe in terms of food. Some things do generally just work well, but we've had situations before where I've said to Ben, okay, I think we should do this, this, and this. Okay, and that's going to pair with your training schedule. He'll go do it for a few weeks. He'll come back and be like, you know what, that felt fucking dog shit. What do you think about changing this? Okay, actually, that's not a bad idea, but we're going to have to redistribute. You're going to have to work with things. There is a science, but there's an art to putting that together as well.
And I think
Is there anything you do disagree with? I've said a lot there.
No, 100%. But I think the main thing is taking the guesswork out.
Mm,
There's not many professions that you're involved in that people are guessing.
mm,
So having all those things under control with somebody else, you're just taking out the guesswork. Should I do 2 heavy sessions today and see how I feel tomorrow? If you have somebody who understands that, you're going to be like, probably not.
mm,
Should I eat X tonight?
mm.
You've got somebody who's experienced in that, and they can say yes or no. You're taking out the guesswork. That is going to excel your growth a lot faster. Like I say, there's not many professions that are like that. You imagine getting somebody, like I say, an electrician round, and they just go, "I pull that wire."
it's
It's
mad.
never
Yeah,
going to happen.
yeah.
And that's essentially what you're doing in a profession where you're trying to be the best that you can be. It's crazy, really, how much guesswork will go into things.
Mm.
That you hit a high intensity session, it's how am I going to feel tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you have somebody overlooking that, they're gonna know. They've seen this so many times. They've got so much experience in this. They're battle tested in understanding all these things. They're gonna go. You're probably gonna feel pretty full tomorrow, and then tomorrow's training is gonna be affected. It's one of those things that, like, yeah, you see, if we understand we can do 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, that growth is going to be a lot better than trying to hit 50 and then back
Mm-hmm.
down.
That's another thing. Like once you've got an injury, you've got an injury, right?
Yeah.
And the rehab process from that is just a pain in the ass. And the statistics with ACLs, like knee ligaments, hamstrings. One of them, if you get a hamstring injury, even when you prepare it well and you rehab it super well, I think you're like 50% more likely to get that hamstring injury back again.
Hmm.
Fuck, that's massive. You're twice as likely to get a hamstring injury once you've got one
Yeah.
already. You
Yeah.
need to take care of that in the first place. And it's easier said than done. Because if you've had a serious injury, you'll buy into the stretching, the recovery a lot more. If you're somebody that's kind of coasting and just been super lucky, not getting an injury, you probably don't see the value in that much, in
Yeah.
that stuff as much. I know there are people that haven't got an injury because they've nailed it from the get go, but that's more of the exception, I feel.
Hmm. Um, yeah, for sure. And it's being able, sometimes it's even being disciplined enough to know to pull back, to not always redline things. And again, you take that accountability of having somebody who understands these things, it's going to be a lot better. I mean, the Ian Larius, I see that he wrote a post before he was running an ultra marathon, and he said he's got there from consistently being good, not occasionally being great. And that kind of stuck with me a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah, because it's like, again, you take them little steps every single day rather than trying to make this massive leap and then falling off, a massive leap and falling off.
Yeah.
The guy who's just taking them 1% or something every day is slowly going to creep. And eventually down the line, you're going to be in this greater position and you're going to look back and see how far you've come just from consistency.
I see that with S&C clients online. They'll come to me in the first like section, and they'll be like, "Okay, I want to get fit, want to get strong, more powerful, whatever. I want to train 5 times a week." And as soon as somebody says to me they want to go 5 times a week, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so fickle. Okay, at the beginning, you could either that could be the first step towards the rest of your life, or you could fall off straight away. Because as soon as you fail one session, boom, there's a knock there. That's 20% of the sessions you've just missed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like, why do you want 5? Tell you what, let's do 3. Okay, we can get loads from 3. Do that for a few phases. Okay, 3 was good. Let's try 4. Actually, I don't want 4. Fine, we're good on 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes I think people just kind of, not that goals are too big, but I think the expectations of what they can endure is too high
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Yeah, I just kind of went off on one there. I believe
No,
I
that's
saw, I
fair.
saw red. I went,
No, but I think people get a lot of like shiny object syndrome,
yeah, magpie.
magpies. So they come in and they're like, right, I need to get better at strength and conditioning. Watch this, I'm going to smash 5 sessions. And you're like, somebody who's been there and knows, and like, yeah, good luck. See how you feel after. But again, same thing, you have somebody who understands. You're like, 2 is going to benefit more than 5 because you're not going to stick with 5 heavy sessions a week.
Yeah,
Those 2, and again, that consistently good, stay with those 2. And that is going to, you do that all year, that's going to be better than 4 weeks of 5 and you're burnt out and then you never do it again.
100%, 100%. I was thinking back then, in terms of when we first started lifting. One, it was for bodybuilding. That was basically how we were preparing for S&C at the
Mm-hmm.
start, because
Yeah.
we both didn't really know any better. To be fair, there just wasn't that much good information out there
It
for us.
wasn't.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to think, genuinely, who were the people we used to watch?
For strength and conditioning.
Yeah, like when we were doing a PT qual, we were still fine at the time.
Steve Cook,
Steve Cook,
Rob Richards.
Rob Richards, they're
Um,
two like physique guys,
phys-
bodybuilding, all about chest.
oh,
Good.
talking about um, the second part of the bicep on the curl, and I'm like,
Yeah,
how does that contribute? You don't realize at the time how little it does. And again, that's one of those reasons why the academy is there, and we've made the strength and conditioning program on there
Yeah.
for that reason. So
Yeah.
you're not going into the gym and doing decline bench flies to hit your major. Like, I'm probably completely butchering that,
No,
but
mate, it's right.
that is not going to contribute that much to athletic ability.
And that's the truth. And I think, if you are at this point and you've listened all the way through, like there is options other than your bodybuilding splits. You probably shouldn't be doing a chest day or a back day or anything like that. There is way better ways of structuring things to make you feel fresher, but also you'll feel so much more powerful. You'll get a lot stronger. It'll just feel good in your week.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to be an athlete, train like an athlete.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that's where that would be.
Sweet. I feel like this wraps it up, mate.
Yeah, well,
that's it. We covered a lot there, mate. So we went through.
that was big.
I don't know how many questions that was. That was 7 or 8 questions.
Not that many for an hour and a half of talking, to be fair. So there's a lot of gone in there.
There's a lot gone in. Sweet, cool. So just to wrap things up, I know a few things I want to make sure you do. Go over to the Ben Woolliss Academy, sign up to that. That'll be sick. That will benefit you hugely. Obviously, the podcast that you've kind of landed on here, you need to make sure you put a 5-star on the Spotify because that's actually super important. Tell your mates, tell all your mates, tell their mates. Just spread the information around. I appreciate it. Ben appreciates it.
Yeah.
It goes a long way to just spreading good information that we put a lot of time and effort into. So if you enjoy it, just let us know.
Yeah, it makes such a difference. Such little things like the ratings and things like that would make such a difference, and it takes you. It don't even take you a second.
It literally takes you a second.
And there's so many people that say it affects us so positively, and we appreciate it. But fucking hell, it does go a long way.
Just seeing it is nice, but genuinely, there's a thing behind it. If you're involved in social media, you'll understand like the bollocks that goes on with the algorithms and how it takes a little bit of teasing, a little bit of a push in the right direction. But as soon as one person likes it, it starts popping up on somebody else's news feed. Then it's another, and then it's another, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
If social media doesn't see that engagement, you think that's boring, and then it just gets pushed away. Nobody ever sees it enough to have an opportunity to like it.
Yeah.
So like it, follow it, do all that good stuff.
Yeah. If you enjoy it, get on it.
Nice one, guys. Thank you very much. Pause that.